appreciate all of you hanging out with us. I hope the March Madness frenzy has been enjoyable. And I hope all of you, even though your brackets are certainly worthless, I hope you didn't have Illinois to win, because if you did, you were done incredibly early. But as you start to break all of this down, there was a lot of fun. We had the unfortunate VCU incident where VCU was not able to play, and we talked a lot about this. Coming into the tournament, I said, man, my fear is still, that we potentially could have a team. And look, I don't want to make VCU fans feel bad. I know they made the run to the Final Four before. But I do think it's worth mentioning, or maybe it was the Elite Eight. I can't remember exactly. That's what got Shaka Smart the Texas job, if I'm not mistaken, even though he can't win anything. And we'll get to that here in a moment. But to me, the fear remains that a team that you think has a chance to win the championship, and I know technically everybody has a chance to win the tournament, but the fear remains that a team like a Gonzaga or a Baylor or maybe a Michigan or one of the teams that's looked really good at the 2 or the 3 line is going to suddenly have a COVID issue, and that's going to keep them from being able to compete for the championship. So far, I wish no teams had the issue, and it's crushing for VCU. But so far, at least through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, most of the integrity of the competition seems like it has maintained itself. But I do think that there are 3 major stories that stood out the most to me from the NCAA tournament's first 3 days. And I want to remind everybody out there, we have got, just so you know, a lot of games starting at noon Eastern on this Monday. Again, usually the Sweet 16 is set by Sunday evening. No. We've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday usually. Not this year. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 8 games going on today beginning at noon Eastern. And we're going to have Todd Furman scheduled to join us here in a few moments in the next segment. And Todd Furman got teed off on by, congratulations, Arkansas Razorback fans. You guys are into the Sweet 16. It's unbelievable to me. I had to go look it up. Arkansas hasn't been in the Sweet 16 in basketball since 1996. I believe that was Nolan Richardson still prowling the sidelines. For those of you who are old school, I feel like 25 years at this point almost qualifies as old school. Makes me feel old to go all the way back to 1996. I was in high school the last time that the Arkansas Razorbacks were in the Sweet 16. Congratulations to Eric Musselman and what he has accomplished with the Razorbacks in a crazy game against Texas Tech. But Todd Furman said it was a coaching mismatch and that Chris Beard was going to walk all over Eric Musselman. And then Eric Musselman fired back at him. It's going to be entertaining. Furman's going to join us. We'll play that audio for you in the next segment. But 3 biggest takeaways to me from the opening Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the tournament. Let's start here. Sister Jean and Loyola Chicago. I believe she's 101 years old now. She has done whatever it takes. She has dominated the. I feel like she's got magic spells. She has been able to crush all opposition of Loyola Chicago. Remember, they went to the Final Four a few years ago, and I feel like, my goodness, they absolutely dominated Illinois for the entirety of that game. It was not remotely close. They led, it felt like, by double digits throughout. From the moment that game began, Illinois was unable to match what they brought to bear. And I think if you are an Indiana Hoosiers fan right now, and you have been looking around, and I know many of you have been thinking to yourself, who is the right coach to take over our program? I don't know how you make the decision to go with anybody other than Porter Moser right now. Because that Loyola Chicago team may have been wildly underseeded if you look at the basketball analytics people. And they didn't win an upset where crazy things had to happen in order for them to pull off the win. Now, what am I talking about when I say that? A lot of times upsets happen, and you go back and you look at the box score and you say, man, okay, that's a collection of things that wouldn't happen very often. But I want you to listen to some of the stats from Loyola Chicago against Illinois. Loyola Chicago made over half of their shots, shot 51% from the field. They made 40% of their three-point shots, but they only took 10, and they made 4 of them. They had 30 rebounds. They had 16 assists, and they had fewer fouls than the team that they went up against. In other words, they shot a higher percentage from the floor overall. They shot a higher percentage from 3. They out-rebounded Illinois. They out-assisted Illinois. And they also had fewer fouls, and I believe they also had far fewer turnovers. Illinois, 17 turnovers. Loyola of Chicago, just 11. They also had 4 blocks to Illinois' 2, 12 steals to Illinois' 5. They dominated, and they did so in every statistical category. More offensive rebounds, more defensive rebounds. The only area where Illinois was better was in free throw shooting percentage. This was not a flukish result. They were clearly over and above, over and away, the better team. And as a result, you look at that bracket right now, I might take Loyola Chicago as the favorite to advance to the Final Four, because I don't think that's a crazy idea at all. Houston is the highest seed remaining, but that pathway for Loyola of Chicago, based on how they played against Illinois, they're going to be in the Final Four, if I had to predict right now, which is a wild idea. Abilene Christian over Texas. Shaka Smart has still not won an NCAA tournament game at Texas. And in fact, the last 5 NCAA tournament appearances, he has lost in the first round. Lost to a 12 seed, a 10 seed, an 11 seed, a 7 seed, and a 14 seed. And so the situation in Texas, that was a crazy outcome. Now, I got to give credit to Abilene Christian because their defense was off the charts extraordinary on Saturday night. But if you go back and you look at that box score, there's a lot of craziness that was going on there. Abilene Christian won despite shooting 29.9% from the field, 16.7% from 3. Texas actually shot 45%. This is one of the craziest stats I've ever seen. Texas shot 45% from the field. But listen to this. They took 27 fewer shots. You're sitting there, I don't know that I've seen that before. In a 40-minute game, one team took 27 more shots than the other team. How did that happen? How did one team take 27 more shots than the other team? Turnovers. Texas turned the ball over 23 times to 11 for Abilene Christian. And Abilene Christian out-rebounded them, but in particular, this is just want to. On the offensive glass, Abilene Christian had 18 offensive rebounds. Texas had 5. This came down to toughness this game in March, as many of them do, and Abilene Christian was tougher than Texas. And if you're a Longhorn fan, that has to bother you. That has to bother you a great deal. It's one thing to lose. It's another thing to lose and get out-toughed by a school that I guarantee you not one single player on Abilene Christian even got a whiff from a school like Texas for recruiting purposes, and that's why the matchup mattered to such an extent to them and why they celebrated like they had just won the Super Bowl. That was amazing to see at the end of that game. And then the other one I would say that stood out, so 3 big games scenarios that stood out to me. Loyola Chicago taking down Illinois, second-round matchup. Illinois looked incredible in winning the Big Ten tournament. By the way, the Big Ten has not looked as good as maybe we anticipated the Big Ten would. Conference has looked a little bit overrated, I think it's fair to say, based on how things have gone down so far. The Big Ten, in fact, looks wildly overrated. And we'll have to see whether or not Michigan later today and certainly Iowa later today are able to continue the momentum of the conference and suggest, hey, we're still championship caliber contenders, or in a season where we didn't have as many out-of-conference games as we did in past seasons, are we learning that the Big Ten was maybe not as strong as we had anticipated? I'm going to talk a little bit about that maybe to close out the hour because I do think that the data would suggest that the Big Ten, which went 0-3 on Sunday's games, as we get ready for Monday, maybe if you're an Oregon fan, a little bit of reason for optimism against Iowa, certainly based on how good the Pac-12 has looked. Maybe if you're an LSU fan, LSU has been very up and down. Maybe you feel like you have a chance to win that one. And then obviously Maryland going up against Alabama as well. Those will be 3 interesting games to watch as a part of the overall fun that we've still got in the second round to be played later today. Third game that stood out to me. Third big storyline. How about Oral Roberts beating Florida and beating Ohio State? 2 seeds don't get beaten by 15 seeds very often. I believe, Dub, you looked this up because I asked you before the show started to let me know how many 15 seeds have ever made the Sweet 16 before, and you looked it up. I think Florida Gulf Coast is the only team that's been in the Sweet 16 as a 15 seed before. Is that correct?
That's right. Now we got 2 with Oral Roberts.
What percentage of our audience do you think know where Oral Roberts even is?
I'd say probably 15%, maybe.
I think that's probably high.
Yeah, probably right.
I mean, obviously, if you're in that area, they're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, by the way, in case you guys didn't know. I got quizzed on that on Fox Bet Live, the television show that I do, live on the air, and I whiffed. I think I said they were in Nebraska. So I was close. I knew it was somewhere in that vicinity. Maybe I said Kansas. I can't remember exactly. But I knew it was in that area. But a 15 seed going to the Sweet 16 is pretty improbable. So those 3 to me stand out. Loyola Chicago looking like one more time a legitimate Final Four contender. Abilene Christian taking it to Texas and absolutely whipping the Longhorns. Shaka Smart still hasn't gotten an NCAA tournament win this year. Even with a 3 seed, he couldn't do it, and even coming off of a Big 12 tournament championship. And then Oral Roberts, the 15 seed, rolling. Now, there are other big-time upsets that took place. This was a wild and wacky NCAA tournament already through 3 days. In fact, we had talked about how in a COVID year, most of the craziness had not really applied in the world of sports. We're getting a bevy of it so far in the NCAA tournament. But the teams that everybody expected, the 2 best to be, Baylor's into the Sweet 16 without too much difficulty, and Gonzaga absolutely destroyed their first-round opponent. We'll see how they do in the second round later today. But up next, Todd Furman, called out by Arkansas coach Eric Musselman. Congrats to Razorback fans, into the Sweet 16 for the first time in 25 years with, by the way, a great chance to advance to the Elite Eight, considering that they are going to be matched up against Oral Roberts. We'll talk about that with Furman, get his favorite picks for Monday. By the way, Dub, did you see this? Blood Bank Guarantee, 3-0 this weekend. I gave a pick. My favorite pick on Thursday was Oregon State +8. My favorite pick on Friday was what did I hit on Friday? I'm trying to remember. My win on Friday was LSU, which covered with ease. And then I gave you Arkansas +2, and they advanced to the Sweet 16. I've got a blood bank guarantee for you, final segment of the show. We'll see if I can go 4-0 on the blood banks as we get ready.